Hey guys, my name is Luke Owens and I own the Hub Gym in Broken Arrow, Oklahoma. And we started seeing those numbers increase, and we also have seen our membership increase. So in about, 2 years or so, we've gone from about 700 members to now over 1,800. My name is Luke Owens, and I am the founder of the Hub Gym here in Broken Arrow. My wife and I had a vision for the Hub Gym to be the center of health and fitness in the Broken Arrow area, just to be a place where a multitude of people could come and feel comfortable getting healthy, achieving their goals. The vision sort of changed a bit. I think that our vision now would be to expand this community into other communities. Sort of the idea of franchising the Hub just to be kind of a worldwide presence. Our clients find acceptance, find something that they don't find in other fitness centers, where they're able to get clear with their goals, fitness goals, life goals as a whole, and we just help facilitate that space where they can realize them. Michelle, she is a testimony, I guess, that we can share. When she came in, it was sort of the dead of summer, and she was in a full sweatsuit. Totally uncomfortable, but uncomfortable to not be completely covered, and scared to kind of start her journey. But through our team, through the support we offer here, she has lost well over 160 pounds. Comes in tank tops now and just completely comfortable within her body. I remember a day she came in and she was sort of emotional. And I'm like, what's going on, Michelle? And she said, my son hugged me today. And I'm like, I mean, your sons are pretty old. Have they never hugged you before? And she said, no. He said, that's the first time I've ever put my arms all the way around you. And I'm like, holy crap, And so that really inspired me, and that's the why. That's why we are and who we are and do what we do, is for stories like that. I'm passionate about people, and fitness just happens to be the vein that I run in, that I'm comfortable in sort of expressing that love and passion for people. And so that just lends itself to putting me in the face of people. When I was asked about 12 years ago, if you didn't have to do what you're doing today, what would you be doing? And the only answer I could give was affect people. I wanted to impact people's lives. And that's gotten more clear as I've gone along. I just want to be an inspiration, and I want people to realize that they themselves can be an inspiration.
From on the path to literal suicide to on the path to thrive. Today we share the Luke Owens success story.
Some shows don't need a celebrity narrator to introduce the show. But this show does. 2 men, 8 kids, co-created by 2 different women, 13 multi-million-dollar businesses. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Thrivetime Show.
3, 2, 1, here we go!
Started from the bottom, now we here. Started from the bottom, and we'll show you how to get here. Started from the bottom, now we here. Started from the bottom, now we here.
Yes, and yes. Dr. Z, we have a 5-minute show
Is that
I think
possible?
It's going to blow the minds of the listeners.
Is that even possible?
It is possible.
Well, let's find
and
it.
I'm going to take the show down and then take the show back up. So we have Luke Owens on the show, who is the founder of the Hub Gym. And I went to graphic design college with this guy at Oklahoma State University.
Hub it up.
And you and I reconnected at a conference, I want to say 3.5 years ago.
Almost.
Reconnected and it feels
And you're a lighthearted
so
guy.
good.
I'm lighthearted. But I'd like for you to share, what were you on the verge of doing before you came to the workshop?
Well, the morning that I learned about your conference, I walked into a local coffee shop and I sat down to write my suicide letter to my wife and family.
Okay. Wow.
There was a gentleman in the coffee shop that I knew, and he had just been to your last conference. And he said, hey, man, I think there's something that might help. And he knew me in the business and that might help your business. And I just increasingly got more and more pissed as this guy's talking to me, because that's not what I was there for.
Sure.
But he spun the computer around and I saw your face and I thought, I know that guy and I've done some work with him. And I'm not sure why that changed my mind or sort of put that on pause, but it did. And I'm grateful it did.
Wow.
And the thing about
That's
it
intense.
is, I spoke at a conference years ago where somebody else called me years after and said, he was actually a banker guy, and he said, I was on the verge of suicide, and I saw you speak at the Community Bankers Association event in Vegas, and I literally was at the end. Because my bank was on that stress test, wasn't doing well, and I had no idea how to market that thing.
Yeah.
And the stuff I applied, it fixed it. But then the philosophy about the F6 life stuff you teach, at the time it was F5. We didn't teach fun. This would be 2011 or 12 I was teaching this. And he said, it saved my life. And I want you to know that. And I go, and I mean, you're saying that, but do you really mean that? And he said, no, I seriously was on the verge because I couldn't figure it out. And I didn't know about the group interview, so I couldn't find people.
Right.
I didn't know about how websites work, so I couldn't get customers. I didn't know why reviews were important. I didn't know. Well, try being a graphic designer who went through school to teach you how to properly promote a business, and it's still not working. You know, I was in business at that time for 10 years, and I don't know if you and Dr. Z remember that conference when I sort of like grabbed you both and spun you around and said, I have to do this with you guys. I don't advise people grabbing either Clay or Z, but I did that. That's where I was.
A good spinning, though, is not a bad thing. I mean, it's just a general rule of thumb. But
what I would like to do, because I wanted Z to hear that too, because that's why we do this.
Wow, that's intense.
I've met your wife, great lady. Met your father-in-law, great person. Hey, please explain what you have implemented. And I know you've got to go to do your rest of your life, but I have 5 areas I want to hit on in 3 minutes. We'll see if we can do it. The group interview.
Yes.
Getting to the top of Google.
Yes.
Firing idiots. Let's go there. Group interview. How's that helped your life?
Well, I haven't sold a membership, and I don't remember when. I am no longer working as much in the day-to-day of the business. Instead, now I'm working on the business, and we're seeing growth. So we're 100 members away from our goal number that we've set together. And I also have time freedom, which was the first thing. You know, you guys asked the question, what is your financial goal? I didn't have one at the time. I just wanted to be happy and be alive and have time freedom to be with my family, and I've achieved all of those things.
You were a graphic designer. You went to school for graphic design, so you know how to design things.
Yes.
But they were unfindable because you were not anywhere near the top of Google. And
Correct.
Now you are. So talk to me about adding content to your website, crappy content or good content, and getting reviews, because you're now beating billion-dollar fitness companies in the search engine results when people type in Broken Arrow gyms. How has adding crappy, consistent content to your website and getting reviews changed your life?
Well, it's funny. This morning I was looking for an old ad, and I came through this folder that was just every week I was producing multiple different ads, multiple different offers, trying to get this thing to go. And, when you started asking us to write content, I'm like, man, I'm going to have to make this really great or whatever. It's just a matter of building that content so that Google can find you, and that's happening, and we're now at the top.
Firing idiots. Dr. Z talks about this a lot. Unless you're a life coach, Z, you shouldn't
say 2 words. Bye-bye.
Yeah. So Z talks about this, which might seem mean on the outset to fire people, but Z's always told me, hey, listen, if people change seldom, and if people need a life coach, then tell them they should go hire a life coach, but don't be a life coach unless you are a life coach.
Right.
Talk to me about firing idiots.
Well, I ran my business as a life coach, hiring people who needed help, period.
Because you're an empath.
Right. And also, I wanted to feel good about how crappy I was being in my life. So I would hire people who I felt like were in a worse off shape than me and felt like maybe I could help them. But what I've learned is that you cannot get advice or take direction from people who do not have what you want, period. And so now I surround myself with people who have what I want in life, period. And if that's not you,
there it is.
You can go work at McDonald's until you are, and then maybe come work with us. I don't know.
Yeah, wisdom is hiring people that are smarter and better at you than what they're doing.
Absolutely.
And because fear keeps most people from doing that. Fear of, are they going to take the business? Are everybody going to like them more than me? I mean, all the things that fear comes over here, forget about that.
Yep.
It's the wisdom is to hire people that are smarter and better, more clever than you.
Correct.
And gather them up on your team. It makes your team much, much stronger. And if more people would do that, they would have better success rates.
Now, I've worked with so many fitness companies, literally dozens. And when I've worked with fitness companies, they always are told these fitness conferences, you should change your offer every week, freshen it up. Every week there's a new offer, there's a click funnel, there's a new offer, there's a click funnel. There's a click funnel, there's a new offer, there is a new... So these marketing companies pitch it because that makes the money, because there's always something new to design.
And it doesn't work.
There's a new special.
So it keeps them coming back.
For 7 days. For 7 days and $77, you too could lose 7 pounds.
Offer ends Sunday.
Right. So this goes on. I mean, seriously, there's constant. And then make sure all your pricing ends in a 7.
Sure.
And to do social media posts with you and celebrities. And it's just, you're spending your whole day on Facebook engaging with the men and women. Talk to me about creating a no-brainer and just sticking with that freaking thing for 3 years.
You know, we have never changed our no-brainer offer ever.
What?
We don't turn it off. It's been $1 for your first month since the beginning, and it will not change.
How is that possible?
Going back to what Z just said about hiring people who kind of push you to be better or make you a bit uncomfortable. You've met my manager, right?
Right.
The guys like Sheldon from Third Rock. I could not stand this guy when I interviewed him because I saw so much. He just was not like me at all. And so, but now Clay, he comes to our meetings and he has what I don't have naturally. And he makes me uncomfortable all the time, and that's why our business is growing.
Right. Now, now you have grown from about 700 members. When we first started tracking, we didn't know how many members.
Yeah, we weren't tracking, so I don't know.
So you've gone from around 700 members-ish to on the verge of 1,900 members now.
Correct.
And 3 years, almost tripled the guy's business here. Great things are happening. Let's talk about creating a purposeful schedule, because you've met people. You've met a guy even recently who said, he doesn't like me. And I've never met this guy. You've met a guy who said he doesn't like me. I've never met the guy.
Right.
But he's got an opinion of me. He didn't like me.
Yep.
I've met people that don't like Z, and you get down to a why.
What?
And it's because they hate because they ain't.
Correct.
So here's the deal. Z has told me and other people, I will not meet you for lunch. I appreciate you, but I will not, because I have other plans with my son or my daughter or with whatever I'm doing. You're now purposeful with your schedule, which means you're saying no to grow. Talk to us about that.
I say no to anything that is not on my task list or does not involve my family, period. No.
Z,
wow, that sounds kind of narrow-minded.
Well, actually, I'm pursuing my master's in psychology, so one day I will be a counselor, and I will say yes if you decide to pay me to say yes. So
there you go.
Now, Z,
pay me the monies.
We have time for you to ask Luke any question that you would like to ask, because he is the fruits of our efforts. He's why we do it. I mean this. Yeah. I only know of 2 people who are on the verge of suicide, but I met a guy at a church. I did not want to speak at a church. I do not like speaking, especially at churches, because I oftentimes curse. And so the show's great because I can edit it. You know what I mean?
You can edit it. Yeah.
But in a church, you're like, uh-oh. So a certain pastor asked me to speak, and the rules were don't curse. I'm like,
you can say earmuffs.
Okay.
Earmuffs.
I'm speaking, and there's a guy in the audience who I kept referring to him as the brown guy, and I'm the white guy.
Jeez.
No, wait a second. No, this is good. And he said, and Andrew can vouch for this, he has said that interaction at his church changed his life, and he's almost doubled the size of his company as a result of implementing this stuff. But I went into this church, and I was speaking, and I just said, I referred to myself as the pale male and him as the brown guy, and we had a lot of fun right there. And but anyway, it's like I got his attention by messing with him a little bit, making fun of myself, changed his life. You're why Z and I do this. We have a lot of fun doing this, but you're why we do this. Z, what question would you have for Luke, or what feedback do you have for Luke?
Luke, how many men have looked at you with the seriousness in their eyes and a voice like this and said that they were your father?
Way too many.
Yeah, okay. It's just okay. You got to play a little Star Wars.
And we're right across from each other.
Yeah. I was expecting a little Star Wars, like, Luke, you are my son.
Sorry, I was kind of slow on the trigger today.
You kind of missed that. You kind of missed that one.
Sorry about that. Through editing, I can come back and catch it.
So Luke, you were at a desperate time in your life.
Absolutely.
And you were getting ready to make decisions that you thought at the time were your only out.
I was minutes away. Yep.
Mm-hmm. And this occurrence happened. And at what point and what happened specifically during the course of the next however many hours or days where you tore up that piece of paper and your mindset shifted? Is there anything that you can look at that one thing that happens is a series of events? I mean, that's a pretty dramatic point to be at in someone's life. And there's someone listening right now that's at that point. I promise you.
Yep.
And it's a horrible thing that's going on in culture these days. I mean, people out there, we all look at this Instagram and Facebook and think everybody's having these perfect lives, and then they take their life because they're not.
Right.
And that's the reality of what's going on.
Right.
This fake life that everybody posts on social media it is not reality. But that aside, we know there's people out there right now at that juncture or close to that juncture in their life. What turned it around for you specifically? And can you speak into someone who may be getting ready to go to a Starbucks and write that letter out?
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't know what exactly to say to a person that's maybe going to do that now, other than reach out to somebody, because there are people there for you, even when it seems super dark. I'm not a religious person, but I'm very spiritual, and I truly chalk up that transition to a God thing. I truly do, because it makes no other sense to me whatsoever that.
And I picked on you a lot at the conference because I felt that God thing.
Yeah.
I told Vanessa, I don't know what it is, but this guy kept doing it the whole conference. I think I probably called on you more than I've ever called on somebody at a conference. Did you remember that? I kept being like, Luke.
Yeah, sure.
Right, Luke, you wore red shoes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
And so I'm grateful. I can say that. I have 3 beautiful kids and an amazing wife.
Yep.
And I could not imagine having put them through something like that.
Sure.
So I am extremely grateful.
Well, Luke, we're grateful that you would have the courage to come on and share your story. A lot of people wouldn't do that. So on behalf of the Thrive Nation and the 500,000 people listening, thank you for being you, man. And we're going to go interview somebody else with a story that's less epic, but still great. But I appreciate you so much.
Thanks, Luke. Good seeing you, buddy.
Thank you, Z.
You.
All right.
And now, without any further ado, 3, 2, 1, boom!
You have questions? America's #1 business coach has answers. It's your Broda from Minnesota. Here's another edition of Ask Clay Anything on the Thrivetime Business Coach Radio Show.
Oh, yes, Thrive Nation, welcome back to the conversation. It is the Thrivetime Show on your radio. And today, we're answering the question that so many people have: how do I make my business grow? With Luke Owens with the Hub Gym. He's a case study, meaning that he is a real bona fide example that you can verify of a real entrepreneur who's having real growth in his real business as a result of implementing the real system. So, Chubb, I'm going to walk you through real quick the steps you have to take to grow your business, and then I'm going to have Luke Owens share his hot and fresh take on how we did it, okay?
Let's do it.
Step number 1. Luke had to establish his revenue goals. All right, step 1. Step 2. He had to establish the number of customers he needed to break even and to achieve his goals. Step 3, he had to establish the number of hours that he was willing to work on his business to grow the business. Step number 4, he had to determine his unique value proposition, what makes the gym different from other gyms. Step 5, we had to improve the branding, right? Step 5, improve the branding. Step 6, we had to create a 3-legged marketing stool. Step number 7, we had to create a sales conversion system. Step number 9, we had to create repeatable systems, processes, and file organization, a.k.a. checklists, the whole deal. Step number 10, we had to learn how to manage people effectively. Step number 11, we had to create a sustainable and repetitive weekly schedule. Step number 12, we had to learn human resources and how to recruit people. And step 13, we've had to learn how to do our accounting. So step number 1, Luke, talk to me about the revenue goals. I'm not asking you on the air here to share your specific numbers, but why was it so important for you to start tracking your numbers, and how has that helped you?
Well, initially, that was the first question that Chubb asked me, like, what is your financial goal? And at that time, it was kind of tough to identify that, right? So, which taught me that if you're running a business, you probably should have some idea of where you are financially and where you want to go.
Ooh, nice.
So that was the first lesson for me, is I hadn't identified that, and I obviously was not running business properly because I would say I didn't care about the money. Well, unless you're a nonprofit or independently wealthy, I think you should.
Yeah, and that was a thing that I see with a lot of new clients, Clay, and tell me if you see this as well, is a lot of people they're in the burning fires, they're in the day-to-day, and you say, what are your revenue goals? Where are you guys at right now? And they're like, I feel like...
Yeah.
And that's not a good place to be. You need to know when it comes to your bank account, because if you run out of cash and you can't pay your team, you are hosed, homie.
Well, what you're going to have to do is get out a whiteboard today. Get out a whiteboard. If you don't have a whiteboard, go buy a whiteboard. Build a whiteboard. Get a whiteboard. And I want you to write down the financial goal that you have for yourself and your business. So I'll give you an example. Elephant in the Room, our men's grooming lounge. I can be very transparent with the listeners. We only want to have 4,000 members there. Okay, and we essentially already have 4,000 members. And what you mean you don't want to grow the business? Exactly. Our business, Elephant in the Room, is designed to serve it's designed to be a home run on the levels of the 3 Ps. Okay, we want to have a great profit, we want to have great people that work there, and we want to make a product that we're proud to serve the community. Okay, right. We want to have a product or a service that we're proud of. That's the P number 1, the product or service. 2, we want to make a profit that makes sense. And 3, we want to have great people that work there. And so we've decided we're probably going to open up a 4th store to service a different part of Tulsa. Because, Luke, whether people love the Hub Gym or not, the reality is very few people are going to drive 25 miles to get their hair cut. So for Elephant in the Room, I mean, there's a lot of people that don't come to our locations because it's not practical to drive from the west side of the river over to the east side of the river to get your hair cut, is a general rule. And at the Hub Gym, it's probably not super realistic for a ton of people from Owasso to drive to the Hub Gym. And so it's kind of a deal of like, you have to know how many members that gym can support, how many members you want to get to, and then your growth needs to be, once you hit that number, you can decide, do I want to open up another location? Do I want to just optimize this location? But I think in your mind, you have to know kind of, and I'm not asking for a number, but I think you have probably a number of how many members that gym can probably support.
Yeah, and our initial goal was to get 1,000 members, and today we're sitting at about 1,350.
Yeah,
and so I don't know that we've met that threshold, but I would say at this point maybe 2,000.
That's kind of what I'm thinking about, 2,000 members. But it's so important that you write down a number out there, because we've had so many people approach me with Elephant in the Room saying, "Hey, what if we team up?" Like as an example, there is a local adult beverage business. They make local IPA beers. They make local. It's a local brewery there, Chup, and they've said we should team up and do a competition where whoever has the best beard wins free beer or something like that. And that's a great idea, right? Except I don't want to do it.
There you go.
Because I don't want to team up. I don't want to be a part of the community. I don't want to do any events. I don't want to do anything at all related to local events. We give money back. We take $1 from every haircut, and we give that money back to the boys' home there in Tulsa. So for the first, when you come in to get your haircut for $1, the first time, that $1 goes back to the boys' home. And really, I don't want to team up with any other organization other than the boys' home. And Chup, why is that important that I know what charity I want to give back to, and the only charity I want to give back to?
Yeah, because the business is a vehicle to serve you and get you to your goals, not everybody else's. So it doesn't matter how many great ideas or good things that people can bring to you. If it's not on your goal list or on your schedule or your plan, you don't have to do it.
I've had a ton of people come to me and say, "Hey, why don't you open up a 4th location in Owasso?"
Yeah.
And I haven't done it. You know why, Chup?
Because you don't want to.
Right. And Chup, you know why I'm not doing that local brewery thing?
Because you don't want to.
Right. And you know why I'm not going to do the big old what is it? November, the Movember, where you have like a cancer awareness where you don't shave. You know why I'm not going to do that?
Because you don't want to.
Right.
Yes.
And you know why I'm not going to team up with like the downtown. It's the downtown Tebow district, the South Boston.
Yeah.
Why I'm not going to team up with them to do some kind of local fun run?
I think it's because you don't want to.
Right. And these are all things I don't want to do. In fact, I don't want to do anything other than to service those 4,000 customers and to hit the 3 Ps. Great product that I'm proud of, to have great people that work there, right? And to have a great profit.
Don't forget about the W.
What's that?
The wall that you live behind.
Right, I love living behind the wall.
That's another thing that you like.
Now, step number 2, right? Step number 2. You have to establish the number of customers you need to break even. Luke, why was it so important for you to be honest with the numbers and to go, okay, this is how many members that I need just to pay the bills?
Well, again, the biggest light that we shined on the thing when we first started was that I had no idea, truthfully, where I was, right? I could surmise, I could guess, but that's as best as it was going to get at that time. So why it's important is because you need to know where you're at to determine where you're going.
Now, Chuck, this just in from our home office here. Lee Cockrell writes, and I need some echo here, Chuck.
Okay, here we go.
And Matt, if you could pile on, because Chuck recently has been really off his echo game.
Don't
So I want
lump
this
me
to-
in with Steve Currington.
I need this to be like a prolonged echo. So here we go. Let me get my quotable voice ready. Here we go. One of the main reasons people don't improve is that they are not honest with themselves. Lee Cockrell. This guy's name is Lee Cockrell. He's the former executive vice president. Make the echo stop.
That was short and to the point right there.
Unbelievable. Okay. Now, Lee Cockrell is the former executive vice president of Walt Disney World Resorts, who used to manage 40,000 employees. And he used to manage, again, Walt Disney World Resorts, 40,000 employees, 1 million customers a week.
A week.
At Walt Disney World Resorts. And he says one of the reasons people don't improve is that they're not honest with themselves. So I don't think, Luke, you're running around going, I'm going to deceive myself and not be honest. I just think we hadn't had those discussions yet. You never thought about, okay, this is how many members I need to break even.
Right. And two, what I've learned with working with you all is that you can either work on your business or in it.
Explain the difference.
Well, when you're working on your business, it's sort of from a bird's eye view, right? You're looking at the whole picture. And when you're working in it, that's like selling memberships and scrubbing toilets.
Oh, yes.
And there are only 24 hours in a day. And so, it's just not effective. And what I was trying to do was work in and on it simultaneously, doing really neither very well.
Okay, and just to pile on, Jeff Hoffman and David Finkel in their best-selling book called Scale, they write, a level 2 business is a business that works, but only because you, the business owner, are there every day to make it work. You make most of the decisions, you generate most of the business, you meet with all the key clients and perform most of the important work of the business. The painful reality is that most level 2 business owners get caught in the self-employment trap. They're so busy doing the job of their business that they can't step back and focus on growing the business. What's more, because of the way they are building the business, the more success they have, the more trapped they become inside their company. So, Luke, can you explain some of the things that you kind of kept you so trapped in the day-to-day of running the company that you weren't able to take a step back and to actually work on the company?
Sure. So, again, I was the front desk, so that meant I was selling all of the memberships. I was the lead trainer, so that meant I was training all the people, doing all of the first steps, which is our onboarding program. And if there was a disaster like an overflowing toilet or something. I hate to keep talking about toilets, but those were things I had to deal with. If there's a call in the middle of the night, because we are a 24-hour gym, it was my phone that was ringing and my car that was starting to come up to the gym to deal with that.
And let me make sure the listeners out there get it. These are just some very practical tips that you can do right now to free up your time if you feel that you are trapped in the day-to-day. And Chip, we'll put this on the show notes here, okay? One is establish a rule with your team to only talk to you at your daily meeting. So like daily, just have a huddle and establish to your team, do not call me, do not text me outside of that particular daily huddle. And then step number 2, create an org chart of who they should reach out to if they have an emergency. I see so many business owners, Chuck, though, that have their phone on them. As an example, like today, I basically every Friday I turn my phone off at about noon, and then my phone is off until Sunday night, and then I guess it'd be off until basically Monday at about 6 a.m. So my phone's off, 48 to 72 hours in a row there.
Right.
And some people say, how in the world can you do that? Well, I've established an org chart. So at the elephant in the room, my son was selling Boy Scout popcorn. Boy Scout popcorn this weekend. By the way, he sold $490 of Boy Scout popcorn. He's got about
Way to go,
$700 more to sell to hit his goal to go to Disney World.
Yeah.
So we're getting close there. But he goes to the elephant in the room, so I dropped him off at 8:15 on Saturday. He goes in there. Wendy helped him, and he's selling popcorn. I checked on him at noon, and then I checked on him at 5, just to make sure he's doing good, picked him up, that kind of thing. And he's learning the dark art of sales. But I don't have a constant stream of text messages coming in with emergencies throughout the day. Now, I know on Saturday at the 3 stores, we had at least 2 to 3 quote-unquote emergencies.
Absolutely.
on Saturday because every Saturday we have 2 to 3 emergencies. And this might blow the mind of the listeners, but every week we have, and Chuck, you've been in our management meetings on Monday. Every week, do we not have some kind of emergency?
Always. You've got how many customers again?
There's about 4,000 customers, about 90 employees.
How could you not, right? With that many employees and that many customers coming in, there are going to be issues. And if you think you can run a business that's that interactive with the community and not have issues, you're not telling yourself the truth. And so you have to be proactive, like Clay's saying, and deal with these things at one time instead of every single time stream of consciousness.
But I think a lot of business owners, Luke, they make themselves available for every second of the day. They make themselves available because they've been reading a lot of these motivational books. They've attended a lot of these motivational seminars. And Ben Horowitz, this is a guy who sold his company, Opsware, to Hewlett-Packard for $1.6 billion. He writes, every time I read a management or self-help book, I find myself saying, that's fine, but that wasn't really the hard thing about the situation. The hard thing isn't setting a big, hairy, audacious goal. The hard thing is laying people off when you miss the goal. The hard thing isn't hiring great people. The hard thing is when those great people develop a sense of entitlement and start demanding unreasonable things. The hard thing isn't setting up an organizational chart. The hard thing is getting people to communicate within the organizational chart that you've just designed. The hard thing is not dreaming big. The hard thing is waking up in the middle of the night in a cold sweat when the dream has turned into a nightmare. This is, Luke, have you ever found yourself in a spot at the Hub Gym previous to working with us where you felt like it had become a nightmare?
Oh my gosh. I mean, the day that I came to the first conference, I was in it. I was living it. And I remember saying, I will give this thing away. I would have given the gym away to relieve that stress. Thankfully, I came to your conference, and I remember talking with you and Zellner and saying, hey, I don't know how to make this work. Based on the financial situation the gym was in at the time, but I have to do this in order for us to move forward.
And that's the only reason that I do what I do. I love helping people achieve time freedom and financial freedom, Chuck. And I think a lot of people just don't know these 13 steps, and that's why we're stuck. And the problem is, Luke, you've gone to college. Eric, Chuck, you've been to college. What college did you go to, Chuck?
Oklahoma State University.
And I went to Oral Roberts University. And you graduated, Chuck, with a degree in what?
I have 2 degrees, one in management and one in marketing.
And do you use any of the management things you were taught in college ever on a daily basis to either A, coach your clients, or did you use them when you ran your own business?
Let me think. Subtract that. No, 0 times.
Right.
Basically 0 times.
Because everything they teach at college is crap.
It's even worse than that, Clay. It's like we talk about. It's all memorization, even at the college level. And so even if it wasn't crap, I wouldn't remember it anyways because it's like study here, remember this, put it on the paper. Now all completely different things. And there's no application at all.
And it's wrong.
Most of the time. Absolutely. Or all the time.
I would say all the time it's wrong. As an example, Luke. Okay, as an example. Okay, here we go. We're talking about step number 3. Establish the number of hours you're willing to work in your business. College never teaches you that. In fact, I had a professor at one point, I remember teaching this in college. He said that if you're a good small business owner, you need to be responsive to your customers all the time. So I know a lot of people who went to Oral Roberts University. I know these people who literally own restaurants and businesses who are now in their 40s, who work every freaking hour of the day because they believe they're supposed to be. Another example, I remember teaching, I got asked to speak at a local college, and the guy speaking before me, the professor speaking before me, was talking about social media and how you need to respond to all of the comments and reviews real time.
Yeah.
And he's showing case studies of how the best companies respond to social media as soon as possible. Chuck, if I did respond to all the social media comments, could we possibly grow elephant in the room?
No, and that's the whole thing is like scale out those ideas, everybody. If you've got a new concept or a new idea, Clay talks about on the show, if like your main marketing strategy is networking, scale that idea out. Where does that take you? Is that actually even possible? And that's what we're saying is it's not even possible to respond to every single message. You wouldn't have time to be proactive and prepare.
Luke, have you been to some of those chamber events or networking events where somebody's speaking and telling you the importance of making sure that you're involved in every community event and that you network constantly and that you need to constantly update your social media status? Have you ever seen these kinds of events?
Yeah, of course. And you know, thankfully, my first business partner told me, you know, he kept an eye on me, right? And so one day I left to one of these networking meetings.
Right.
And being the only person in the gym, that meant the gym had no one there. I was gone for like 3 hours or something, networking, trying to build my business. I wasn't in it. So that was the last time I ever did that.
There's one group, I can't seem to place the name, Chup, and I don't want you to help me figure it out either, but it's called, I think it's called 1 million containers.
Something like maybe.
Or 1 million mugs. Mm-hmm. 1 million 1 million
Rugs.
containers. It's 1 million things that hold beverages. Whatever that group is
Bottles.
called. 1 million somethings that hold beverages. And I also call it the Mental Masturbation Festival.
Oh.
And you go there, and you'll usually have a professor
You need your
from
prayer
the
towel.
university of somewhere,
Right.
who will get up there and will talk to you about 3 hot topics. There's 3 hot topics they love to talk about. One is the importance of being a good community member. They love to talk about, as a business owner,
Gotta give back.
give back. Second thing they talk about a lot, they love to talk about social justice and environmentalism.
Got to.
They love to talk about you got to be more responsible, social justice, you got to recycle. Third, they love talking about how the internet has completely changed and how the only way to market your business today is by being a social media superstar. And it doesn't matter who speaks, but it's usually going to be someone who speaks, who has a startup, who is failing, and they get to speak. And everyone's like, oh, this is good. I'm going to take notes.
really doing
and it doesn't matter whether you're successful at all. You just get to speak because they rotate, Luke. Look, if you go to enough of these events, you get to speak.
I don't want to speak.
So you get up there. No, I'm sorry. Have you seen these events?
Yeah.
You get up there and you're like,
Absolutely.
my name is Kevin, and I started a company that gives back. It's environmentally friendly, and I care a lot about the community.
We turn recycled
And
furniture into
these
matches.
are my ways that I market on social media.
Here's what I know.
Yes.
Okay. Zellner told me, he said, you know, if you want to operate as a nonprofit, do that.
Right.
Start a nonprofit. But you're in business to make money.
Make it the bond.
Right. And there's nothing wrong with that. Right?
No, that's the
Nothing
whole
wrong with
point.
that. But some people have this idea that they need to be serving the community. Well, you can't serve the community if you're broke.
Bam.
Right?
That's right.
So you just got to scrap that.
Now, okay, step number 3, though, you got to determine the number of hours that you're willing to work. So I'm telling you specifically, if you want to run a company, this is how you get your schedule as small as possible. These are the hours you have to work. 1, you have to do the weekly group interview. That's 1 hour. Weekly, you have to interview all your candidates. That's 1 hour. Hour 2, you have to have an all-staff meeting every week. Every week, you have to have an all-staff meeting every week, okay? You got to do a group interview, all-staff meeting. 3, this is the 3rd hour. You have to do your accounting 1 hour a week. You have to look at your numbers at least 1 hour a week, all right? 4, you have to do a daily huddle. Now, if you're able to run a company effectively, you should be able to run the company and only need to work there about 7 hours a week. That's about all you should need to work. Now, if you want to work 0 hours a week, like my main man, Dr. Z, does, then you want to hire a very effective manager like Monty. And effective managers usually are about $80,000 to $100,000 a year. So before you go out there and say you want to have, this is what's so ridiculous, Chup. There's so many of these stupid events where they talk about passive income.
Yes.
I want to go off for a little bit. I feel like I haven't gone off about passive income.
Please.
I feel like it's been a long time since I've gone.
Can you be passive about it, though?
Okay, real quick. Passive income. How in the crap can you make passive income? So let's think about all the ways that you can't make passive income, but that people claim you have. Matt, have you ever heard about making passive income?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so let's get into multi-levels first. So this is how you make passive income. Step 1, convince your friend to auto-ship a product that's unproven to work, that has been made and tested in some ambiguous laboratory in Europe.
That you probably don't even need to begin
Right.
with.
And you want them to auto-ship whatever the crap is, and they need to auto-ship more crap than they could ever possibly consume. If it's toothpaste, they need to auto-ship more toothpaste than they could possibly ever use. If it's supplements, they need to auto-ship more supplements than they could ever possibly use.
Well, they have to, because if they're going to build their down leg, Clay, then they have to.
But
It's all
even
about
under
that
that,
down leg.
but even under that paradigm, you have to get in touch with your team every month
right.
to make sure that their cards go through. When the cards get declined, you got to motivate them to give you a new card. You've got to talk to them about the future of the product. There's nothing passive about multi-level. There's nothing. I mean, in fact, step number 1. Destroy all of your relationships and exchange them for a paycheck. That's step 1. Then step 2, continue harassing and beating up your friends every month to get that passive check.
I got to get that Mercedes, man.
Please
Got to get that.
Preach.
Got to get that. Okay, so that's that. Let's do real estate.
Okay, yeah,
That's not
super. That's passive, man.
No, you
Come on,
got.
passive.
Have you ever had a tenant, Chubb? Have you ever rented a property to somebody?
No.
Have you, Luke?
I have not, but I know about this.
Okay,
yes.
let me tell you about this. Step 1, you get a good property.
Oh, yeah.
You take care of that
Fix
property.
it up.
In my case, I rented it to a guy
Yeah.
that I knew very, very well.
I've seen the photos of this said property.
I knew, and I rented the property to a guy I know very, very well. A guy who had a good background. I thought this guy will be a good renter.
tenant,
He's
yeah.
a good guy. And so he decides to use my deck as a backdrop for his graffiti art. True story. He decides to remove my ceiling fans and to bring them to his new office.
Oh, yeah.
He decides to remove my built-in bookshelves, and he decides to pull them out. I had a decorative lion head where water came out of fountain. He decided to just remove that, and he won't tell me where it is. He decided to not mow the lawn for usually 60 days at a time.
Take the fence down, too, right?
So every time that his check bounced or it didn't go through or he couldn't pay, we'd show up at the property to collect the money. And it looked like he was trying to take his front lawn and turn it back to the native Oklahoma prairie.
It was like Jumanji, right?
It looked like he was building the gathering place, all that local grass that's growing. It was like a Amazon. It looked like he was
Tunnels and bridges everywhere.
It was crazy.
It was.
Nothing passive about real estate. Nothing
way.
passive about multi-level. Nothing passive about having a business. Luke, how passive is the staffing of the Hub Gym? I mean, could you just disappear for 90 days and come back, and I'm sure you'd have a great staff?
Yeah, I don't know the name of any of my staff. No, it's not passive. What are you talking about? So you have
People teach that crap all the time.
Yeah, you have to touch base. You have to touch base with your staff.
It's not even a realistic goal. There's so many books. If you have a book out there written about passive income, burn it. No, wait, I tell you what. Bring the book to my office.
Yes.
Bring it to the Thrive 15 headquarters. Bring your book. Bring your book. If you have a book out there about passive income, please bring the book to the Thrive 15 headquarters in Jinx. It's at the Riverwalk, 1100 Riverwalk Terrace. Bring the book to 1100 Riverwalk Terrace. Bring your book about passive income. Bring it. And I promise you I'll do 2 things. 1, I will burn it. Step 2, I will pee on it.
Right there in the chimney.
I will. I promise you. Now, I'm not going to let you watch because you don't need to be seeing that kind of thing.
Yeah,
But you have to, because it's not even a realistic goal.
That's right. Why would you want that anyways? Like, it just doesn't even make sense.
It doesn't make, I mean, seriously. You say, well, Dr. Z has passive income. Dr. Z has managers, and they're not passive. He has to maintain the relationship.
That's what I was going to say. He touches base with them every week, and he is. There's an org chart, and
But
everybody
there's so
knows.
many people pursuing passive income. If you've been watching YouTube videos from some guy from Australia.
Hey, mate.
Hi, hello. Good to see you there.
I didn't see you.
Didn't see you there. Here
Here's
I am.
all, so get out of
Look
my
at me.
Lamborghini
There's some attractive ladies behind me. I'm at my pool, and I want to teach you 8 ways to make passive income overnight. Overnight income. I make over $9,000 a month from my laptop.
2
no,
hours
you
a week.
don't. You don't. It's
Why
not,
are you recording this commercial right now, you liar?
Why is this even a goal?
Right.
It's unbelievable. And then I see the chambers give you a goal like your business should reinvigorate downtown. What? How is that a goal that your business?
Downtown should reinvigorate itself, so
All
I
right.
moved my business down there.
So step 4, you have to determine your unique value proposition. This is what makes you different. Now, Seth Godin calls this the purple cow. Eric, if you had to describe what makes the Hub Gym and different from other gyms, how would you describe that?
Well, first of all, I would describe the just the look of inside the gym. A lot of the gyms, the big box ones you go to, they're very sterile. There's no, like, it's all the same. Everything looks exactly the same, and you can tell Luke has taken time to plan out each workout area. There's inspiration. There's art everywhere all over the walls. It's eclectic, but not in the homeless kind of.
And we're going to continue taking it to the next level.
Yeah, that's right.
I mean, it's going to continue getting better.
He's got a Grow-rilla. I mean, come on, man.
Oh, yeah.
Can you tell us about the Grow-rilla, Luke?
Man, this guy is great. When you told me buy an inflatable gorilla,
20-foot gorilla.
I thought, what in the heck are you thinking, right? But
He didn't say that. He just did it, and that's a good
I just
thing.
did, yeah. You know, if Clay says it, I'm doing it. Let's just do it.
But we put them out, randomly as weather permits, and people pull in. It's crazy.
Isn't it crazy? The large inflatable gorilla. How tall is this gorilla?
I literally think he's like 20, 30 feet, something crazy. I don't know. It's
People
huge.
just show up.
They drive in, and they specifically mention the gorilla.
Exactly. So it's a purple cow. Now, a purple cow, according to Seth Godin, the best-selling author who sold his company Yo-Yo-Dine to Yahoo for $30 million, writes, in a crowded marketplace, fitting in is failing. Not standing out is the same as being invisible. Boring is invisible. Remarkable people and products get talked about. So I ask you there, Mr. Thriver, Mrs. Thriver, what makes your company unique? Think about that. Really think about how can you make your product stand out in a crowded marketplace. Now, step 5, you got to improve that branding. Now, the branding is, I think a lot of people can get woo-woo about this, Chuck. There's a lot of woo-woo. So I'm going to read the notable quotable, and I'd like to have Matt break it down, because, Matt, you work at the Thrivetime Show offices. I'd love to get your take on this. You are not a business coach.
Right.
I'm not asking you to be one, but you are a guy. You're a man of the world.
Oh.
You know what's going on. Okay, here we go. This is what Michael Levine. By the way, Michael Levine, my wife and I just signed Michael Levine to be our PR consultant
That's
for
right.
the Thrivetime
Nice.
Show. So Michael Levine, he's the PR consultant for Michael Jackson, for Prince, for Nike, for Nancy Kerrigan.
Pizza Hut.
And for myself. Myself. So this is what he says. He says, if you give someone a present and you give it to them in a Tiffany box, it's likely that they'll believe that the gift has a higher perceived value than if you gave it to them in no box or a box of less prestige. That's not because the receiver of the gift is a fool, but instead because we live in a culture in which we gift wrap everything. Our politicians, our corporate heads, our movie and TV stars, and even our toilet paper. Matt, why does branding matter so much?
Because branding's all in the mind of the buyer. If you can make your product or your service stand out and it seem like it's worth more, well then in their mind it is worth more.
So Luke, we've had to go out there and optimize your website, the look of it. We've had to optimize your logo. We've had to optimize your one sheet. We had to optimize your marketing videos. We had to optimize signage, optimize exterior lighting. And we're really never done optimizing things. There's some really neat, we talked about on Friday, some neat things that are going to be updated in the gym.
Yeah.
Can you talk to me about why branding has, or how branding has impacted your business the most?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have the U in our logo, right? My wife and I spend a lot of time thinking about those things. And
it's you,
it's
babe.
you, babe. It's all about you. And there is a sign with our U on it in another place in town, and people are recognizing it, right?
Oh.
And initially it was, you're not Nike, so the swoosh doesn't work. And it's working now. The people recognize the U, and it's synonymous with the hub.
And your idea to embroider the U on your head is a really controversial idea. I'm glad you haven't pulled the trigger on that one yet. But now, step number 6, you want to create a 3-legged marketing stool. Now, a lot of people get woo-woo about this, Chuck. Woo-woo, woo-woo. They feel like marketing is a theoretical, always changing event of the week. Event of the week. People feel like marketing is the event of the week.
Clay, it's getting stale. We got to change it up.
So what I'm going to do is I am going to read to you a notable quotable from Chet Holmes. Now, Chet Holmes is the best-selling author of The Ultimate Sales Machine. He was a partner of Charlie Munger, who is Warren Buffett's partner. Okay, so this is Chet Holmes. His book is called The Ultimate Sales Machine. He passed away a few years back, but I want to read you his notable quotable. He says, the missing ingredient for nearly all of the 1,000-plus clients I've worked with directly to improve their business is pig-headed discipline and determination. We all get good ideas at seminars and from books, radio talk shows, and business building gurus. The problem is that most companies do not know how to identify and adapt the best ideas to their business. Implementation, not ideas, is the real key to success. So, Luke, can you share what the 3-legged marketing stool is that we've been implementing there at the Hub Gym?
I can. So we have been running Facebook ads.
Facebook ads. Do we ever turn them off?
Never. And it's never changed, right? Oh, you still running? Yes, I'm still running it. It's working. And then we do Google ads as well, and AdRoll. I think those
retargeting ads.
Yeah, retargeting
They follow
ads.
you around.
Right. So
Search engine optimization.
yeah. So that's what
I
want to
make sure we're recapping the moves here, okay? We never stop optimizing the website. This month, we're putting back about $2,000 into search engine optimization.
Yep.
We never are done. We are never done gathering reviews from our real clients.
Never?
We're never done we're never done running our Google ads.
Never.
Never done with our retargeting ads. Never done with our Facebook ads. Now you've said, Clay, I thought it was a 3-legged marketing stool. The way it works is you don't want to add a new leg until you have 3 stable legs.
Right.
So let me just give you an example. This podcast, Chup, as of the time of the recording of today's show, we're approaching 1,400 podcasts you can find at thrivetimeshow.com.
That's a pile.
Now, why is it important that we don't add any other kind of marketing until we can consistently just record one podcast a day? Why was it so important for us just to start one podcast a day before we launched retargeting ads?
Well, one thought is that you've got to be fruitful and then multiply.
Right.
So do what you're doing. And then the other thing is you've got to measure. You don't want to go jump out there with 12 legs to your marketing system because it's going to be too much to measure and you won't know if your resources are being allocated properly.
And Luke and I have done this. We've gone through this. We know who his ideal and likely buyers are.
Right.
We know the average age, the average income, where they're from, where their kids go to school. We're not going to be running a lot of ads to go after South Tulsa for a gym in Broken Arrow. Because people just aren't going to drive from 151st or 111th and Memorial over to the Hub Gym. But people who live in the Broken Arrow area love the gym. If you're living around the Lynn Lane area, the Elm area, anywhere in Broken Arrow, people love it. It's convenient. If you live over there by Rama, if you live over there by the Lowe's or the Warren Theater.
And those are the people that are going to see the ads.
Right. And we're not, and also if you're into that, if you're into the concept of roid rage, you probably won't like the Hub Gym.
No.
It's not a gym where there's a lot of, it's not their niche. How much does it cost a month to go to the Hub Gym?
So after the initial month for only $1, you're looking at a whopping $29 a month for full access to the club 24/7.
And the ads won't work unless you have a no-brainer.
That's right.
So you can have all the ads in the world, but what gets you the entrance into the game,
the golden look,
is having a no-brainer. Tell us again, Luke, what's your no-brainer?
So your first month is only $1.
What?
And you can find that on thehubgym.com or on Facebook. Check out our ads.
Surely you can't be serious.
I am very
serious. And don't call me Shirley.
A lot of people, though, get hung up on that. They say there's no way possible that you could run a gym and have your first month be $1.
Nope.
How is it possible, Luke?
Well, I remember when we first started talking about this, and I thought, offer a dollar, the doors are going to be flooded. I'm not going to be, everybody's, and that just isn't the case. It's just a good leader to get people in, have a great experience. And it's working. I mean, I don't know how. I don't know the math behind it, but it is, and we're going to continue doing it.
Now, as we talk about step number 7, before we get into step 7, which is creating a sales conversion system, I'd like for Matt to be able to ask you a few questions. Because, Matt, you've often talked about, I know you want to eventually own your own business someday.
Right.
And you're also involved with the ministry.
Right.
Luke is doing it. There's a lot of people that talk about doing it, but he's doing it. Luke has done it. He's done a lot of these steps, and now we're just scaling the steps. Do you have any questions for Luke about implementation? Because so many people talk about wanting to grow their company, but as they begin to grow the company, Chup, they mentally cannot handle growth.
Right.
I see a ton of people that say, I want to grow my company. I want to grow my company. And then we help them grow the company, and they can't mentally handle it.
Yeah, that happens.
So here we have a real example of a real guy who's doing it, the Hub Gym, Luke Owens. Matt, do you have any questions for Luke about implementation?
Why did you choose the marketing methods that you chose? Like, why not a billboard or a TV spot? Why internet marketing?
So here's what's cool about working with Thrive. You don't have to think about those things. It was never a question of, hey, are we going to spend $2,000 a month on a billboard? If that makes sense in the future, we'll talk about that. But they have a proven system, and you just have to be willing to follow it, and that just wasn't one. There were a couple of things we talked about initially, and we tried them. They work. If we tried them and they didn't work, we didn't keep doing them.
That's a very different, what you just said, Luke. It's very different than most marketing firms or even most businesses. Most businesses try a new form of marketing every week.
That's wasting a lot of resources.
Can you talk to me about what it was like when you were running your business with the idea of the week and always having maybe a new fun run or a new marketing idea or a new social media strategy or a new T-shirt or a new banner or a new print piece or a new ad in a magazine?
It's
or
crazy.
Talk to me what that felt like.
Well, it exactly how I just felt when you were listing all those off.
Anxiety.
Crazy, right? And so, what you've taught me is that the business is to work for you. And that's how it's contrary, right? Like, I was working for the business, which meant I never saw my family. My first son, I think I literally never put him to bed or woke up with him the first few years at least of his life. And because I was always at that next event or, behind the computer creating something new, it was always a reactionary existence. And so, it's not. It doesn't.
I want to walk the listeners, Chup, inside the mind of the average business owner that's doing ideas of the week marketing.
Oh boy!
So here we go. AdWords, Amazon, automobile wraps, mass mailers, mass texting, mass voicemails, AdWords, blog-based advertising, automobile wraps, mass emails, AWeber, Constant Contact, SurveyMonkey, business development partnership deals. Buying, merging, selling, celebrity endorsement, cold call marketing, door-to-door sales, Dream 100, email marketing, Facebook advertising, flyers, Google Maps, Google reviews, Google shopping. Maybe I should do magazine advertising. Maybe mall shopping center traffic, outdoor signage, newspaper advertising, Pandora, pay-per-click, Spotify, pop-up shops, public relations, celebrity tie-in strategy, expert strategy, give-back strategy, national news tie-in, the chamber ads, buy an ad, Yellow Pages, do those still work? Yelp, YouTube advertising, Valpak, trade show advertising, text marketing, targeting online ads, television advertising, social media. Maybe I should be a public speaker. Maybe I should write a book. Maybe I should get a sign flipper. Maybe I should do search engine advertising. Where do I start? What's new? Maybe I go on YouTube. I just read a blog. Google's changed everything. YouTube. Google's changed everything. Oh my crap! Google's changed everything. This is what happens.
That's inside the mind.
Inside the mind of idea of the week marketing. It will cause you insanity, and then soon you'll live in a van down by the river. Okay, now step number 7, creating a sales conversion system. This is the part where everybody has to do this, and when people don't fight you, like Luke, it's awesome. Okay, here's what happens is, step 1, you got to write a call script. Got to get that boom, 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 that boom, boom. You got to have that call script. Got to get that. Why do you have to have a call script?
Or you'll end up with a hashtag tattoo on your wrist. So we were in the office, and Chup said, hey, why don't you make a sales call? And I said, awesome, I can do that. I've been doing this for years. He's like, where's your script? I don't need a script. We get on the phone, and I have
right there in the meeting. It was great.
It was crazy town. And so the phone answers, and I start to speak, and I lose my mind. And then I start cursing on the phone, like I don't know what to say, and this is still live. And then I realize it's live, and so I just hang up, and we all lose our mind. Like, what are you doing? And then he brings Marshall in to share in this awesomeness, and Marshall says, "Why didn't you just hit the pound sign? I guess that stops the call or does something."
It was a voicemail. You were leaving.
Yeah,
he was leaving a voicemail.
Which you should never do. And so now I have an awesome hashtag tattoo on my wrist.
It's a reminder of that one
I never want to
fail.
forget that.
You got to create an inbound sales script and an outbound sales script, okay? Then you have to have a pre-written email that goes out. Pre-written emails. You got to have pre-written text messages. You got to create a sales one sheet. And you've got to use Clarity Voice or some recording program to record your calls. And in your case, Luke, you guys are more of a gym than like a personal training business, right? But let's say in the gym, or if you have a personal training company, you got to install cameras. And why do you have to install cameras in the actual gym? How is that helpful when you put cameras in the gym?
Well, you can review what your staff and your clients are doing. You're dealing with people, right? So things happen, and you definitely don't want to be about somebody's opinion or word. You want to know and be able to verify.
That's what you do. You got to record your calls. You got to put in video. That's why things are growing at the hub. Now, step 8, the Ocho. You got to figure out what it costs you to acquire a new customer. Determine the sustainable customer acquisition costs. Determine the sustainable customer acquisition costs. Why is it so important that we track every single week, Luke, how much you're spending on advertisement and how many new members you're getting?
Well, because that converts to a cost per member, and you want to make sure that you're that you're converting at a rate or spending, the money you're spending is converting those members at that rate, at the cost.
And you can scale it up then.
Right.
It's $40 per new member, then you can decide if you're going to scale it up.
That's right. And this is the first steps to, let's take the Hub Gym or Elephant in the Room, right? You know if your no-brainer is working based on knowing these numbers. If you don't know what these numbers are, you don't have your customer acquisition cost, and you don't necessarily know if your no-brainer is a good deal for you as a business owner.
I see so many people saying, I'm not going to spend any money on advertising. I'm going to market on social media.
Oh, yeah.
What's that going to cost you? Like your whole day?
Yeah,
your whole day writing your viral tweets, you genius you?
Yeah, telling people that already know about you. Like, that doesn't help.
Clay, you've had me over the last week or so start really diving in to the expenses and income of the gym,
That's
right?
That's all we've been doing.
Because we've been growing, and that's great. We're over 70% growth, but we're noticing where's that, and so we start looking at that. And we get to see where we're spending money. You say make cuts. Well, before a couple of weeks ago, I would have said there's nothing to cut, and we've cut over $2,000 a month.
$2,000 a month. So we've generated $24,000 a year of extra income as a result of just cutting things. And by the way, no one got laid off.
No.
We didn't sit there and fire people. We just got rid of unneeded expenses. And it's very easy for those expenses to creep up by entropy, by default. They just happen. So you've got to be very mindful of your expenses. Now, step number 9. Once you've begun to sell things and you're growing, now you got to create repeatable processes. Essentially, don't over-spiritualize this. You've got to have a checklist for everything. Luke, how has having a checklist for everything helped you?
It's helped me immensely. It's sitting right next to me here on the table, and what that allows me to do is say no to a lot of things. If you're not on my list, and it's just something I don't have to say yes to, right? And so it's allowed me to say no, and it keeps things out of my mind. I don't have to remember everything, which in turn means I'm going to forget everything. It's right there on the list.
It's allowed you to duplicate yourself within the business, right?
Oh my
gosh, you were saying, you don't have to be there 24/7 every single day because you've created these systems and processes for your team to use, right? How do I clean the bathroom? How do I open the gym up? How do I restock the shelves? How do I clean the equipment? It's all in a process and a
right. And I don't want anybody else. I just want a business that serves myself. Oh, it serves myself. I don't want anything else. Oh no. God, that song is so good and so gross. You remember that? You remember that song? You remember that song?
I want a business that serves myself.
No, do you remember that? Do you remember the original?
Of course I remember the original.
Do you do?
Yes.
Really? Okay.
When I think about Clay.
No, do you remember that song?
Yes, yes, absolutely.
Luke, do you remember that song?
Yes, I do.
Matt, do you not remember that song?
Nope.
Really?
When I think about you, I touch
okay. It's a group called the Divinals, all right? And it says, I love myself. I want you to love me. When I feel down, I want you above me. I search myself. Come on, Chubb. I want you to find me. I forget myself. I want you to remind me. I don't want anybody else. Matt, when I think about you, I touch myself. Oh, I don't want anybody else. Oh, no. Oh, no. That's what you missed out on, dude.
When I think about you.
I think that was before my time.
When were you born? What year?
93.
93? I feel like that song came out probably in 93.
That was the year of you, man.
That song came out. Let's see what year. Chubb, can you find out what song? 1990.
Oh, my God.
Dude, that was 3 years before your birth. Here's my theory. You were conceived to that song.
Oh, no.
Yes.
3 years later. Yes. How we have a Matt.
It took a while for it to happen, but it was a 3-year process. They would just crank up those jams every night. It would create that love and feeling. And all of a sudden, Matt emerges on the scene.
Oh, God.
This is hey, Chubb, this is the circle.
Yes.
This is the circle. It all comes
the
back.
same gestation
This is
period
imaging
as
I
an
don't
elephant.
want.
Oh, wow. Okay, nice. Okay, we move on now. Now, step number 10, the management and execution. Why has it been so important for you to learn how to manage people? And how are you managing people differently now than you used to?
I'll make that a simple statement. I managed from emotion before, period. Right? Tried to make everybody happy.
He got so emotional, baby. Every time he managed his people. He got so emotional, baby. Then he screwed it up. Sorry. Lost his time. No, but seriously, when you manage emotionally, what happens, dude?
It just doesn't work. You're that what are these things called? Click funnels or whatever. You become that. You become that, right? Because everybody's coming to you about their story and about what's going on in their life. All the while, yours is.
Let me give you an example. Let me just give you an example of what terrible management looks like, so you guys can get this idea. It's where you give someone a task to do, right? And you say, "I need you to go to the store and purchase paper.
Yep.
And I need you to shut the door every day. Lock the gym on your way out. Lock the gym. I need you to purchase paper today, and I need you to clean the bathrooms.
If you feel like it.
And then every time you follow up with the person, every time you follow up, right, because you've now been to a motivational event, you've read the first chapter of a management book, you then follow up for the first time. And all employees have the following 3 excuses.
Here they come.
Until you learn how to become a good manager. All employees have the same excuses until you learn how to become an effective manager. Now, the employees that don't give you these excuses are what we would call A players, and that would represent 20% of the workforce. But everybody else has these 3. I'm sure you've heard these. They say, I forgot. That's excuse number 1. I forgot. Guy forgot. The second thing they say is they say there was a miscommunication, right? And the third is they just simply choose not to, but they have an emotional justification for it.
Oh, yeah.
Did you ever run into those things, Luke, where people just emotionally gave you a justification for not getting something done?
All of the time. And when you're emotional, they're going to be emotional.
That's how it works. So now how do you manage now? How's it different?
It's very cut and dry. We set expectations. We hold people accountable. And, if you choose not to do it more than about once, we're just going to move on.
And when you stop acting in that emotional sphere, that emotional realm, you stop saying yes to everything, right? And you begin saying no, and that's where your time freedom creation begins, because you're saying no to things that are not on your goal list.
That's right.
And as we wrap up today's show, we have step 11, 12, and 13, which you couldn't manage people effectively if you don't do these next 3 steps, okay? So step 11 is you have a repeatable weekly schedule. You now have a weekly staff meeting, and you have daily huddles where you know if something's weird before it gets out of control. You know if somebody's operating below the standard quickly so you can nip it in the bud. You're not waiting for a quarter to go by or a year to go by.
Right.
Colleges would encourage you to give people an annual review.
Right.
How insincere is an annual employee review? You meet with somebody at the end of the year and you just remember like the last things they did in the last 2 weeks.
Yep.
And then that somehow becomes a summary of their annual. No, what you do is you meet with people. You have a weekly schedule where you have a weekly staff meeting and a daily huddle. And if something gets weird, you can nip it in the bud because you have a repeatable schedule that your employees can count on. You must create a sustainable and repetitive weekly schedule. Step 12, human resources and recruitment. You're never done doing the group interview. Why can you never stop doing the group interview, Luke?
Well, I don't want to be behind the desk selling memberships anymore, so I've got to have people in the batter's box, if you will.
Nice.
Now, step 13, you've got to do your accounting and automate the earning of money. What you have to do is you have to sit there and do your accounting, and you got to be intense about paying yourself first. You've got to, in your mind, you got to automate this concept of I'm going to pay myself first. I'm going to do my accounting, and the way I do accounting with you, I've been helping you the last month or so on this. It's very active.
Yes.
It's very, it's like offense meets accounting. Accounting typically is something people do if they have time, but we make it an aggressive thing. And we're aggressively cutting wasteful spending. We're aggressively focusing on paying you. And why is it so important that we focus on paying you, Luke?
Well, I've got a certain level of lifestyle that I want to attain. I have 3 children and a beautiful wife and a dog. They all need food and shelter. So it's kind of one of those things. And I don't want to work 80 hours a week like I have for the last 12 years. So,
but by default,
yeah.
you weren't paying yourself.
No, I was not. So
everybody who worked there was making more than you were.
And I'll tell you, doing this active management of the funds, we found over $4,000 in errors day before yesterday.
Yep.
We would not have found those. They would have been gone for the month, which skews everything. I was able to deposit that money into the bank.
You've got to be intense about your accounting and schedule a weekly time to do your accounting. My name's Clay Clark. I'm a business coach. I do this because I believe in you. I believe in your power to change. I know that you have the capacity and the tenacity needed to succeed, but you cannot get anything done unless you're willing to take action.